we are going to take a look at a Void Knight character here. I've been warned that it's not min-maxed. It is someone's first attempt at making their Void Knight character, and they said that they weren't liking the single target damage. The reason we're looking at this build planner is that it's Devouring Orb, and I haven't played Devouring Orb in a hot minute, and it's been changed in 0.9. So there's a couple of things that are already on my mind. I know like a couple buffs that it has access to from other skills. So let's take a look at this character here. I know that it uses Smite for single target, and we'll talk about like where I might diverge and do something different. But let's see what kind of ideas this person has going on. First things first, I know that they have over 90 vitality. So there's this new node that Devouring Orb just got access to. So it's 10 more void damage and mana regeneration, and doubled it if you have 90 more vitality. So this is new. Let's talk about other new nodes first. This node down here is, sorry, not this, this node down here is the second new thing that we'll have to talk about. So this only, capitalized only affects the damage of the Devouring Orb when it collides with stuff. It does not affect the Abyssal Orb, which is a change that was made a while ago. And it also does not affect the Void Eruption subskill, which is a change that was made specifically in 0.9. So those are two things that we'll need to keep our eye out for. Abyssal Echoes is a relevant skill that is both spec'd here and got updated. So this node here is 20% more damage, which is global to your character. So this would apply to your Devouring Orb as well. So that's the second new thing. And the third new thing that we'll want to talk about is the very, very notable omission of Volatile Reversal, because this looks like a crit build, and the crit build only gets to take the node on the bottom left, not the one on the top right, because this is damage over time. But you also get to take the Food for Worms node, which is 1 times 4 times 12, so 48% more damage, assuming that you can cap your Time Rot against a single target monster. So this node is new and should be excellent for us. So this is the first couple of things that are on my mind about the build here. In Anomaly, we have our crit chance, huge leech, lots of cooldown recovery speed. Could have more cast speed as well. I like cast speed when it comes to a Devouring Orb build, because I'm like num-locking, auto-casting, holding my finger down on the Devouring Orb button, and I want that to go as quickly as possible, because I don't want to be stuck in place, right? So I really like to have cast speed in a build like this, even though like at first glance, it doesn't really look like it helps you. But we're a Smite build, so it definitely does help us. So let's keep poking around a little bit. I see that we have these nodes here, which kind of makes up for Volatile Reversal for 1 second. It makes it up for it for 1 second. So I don't like it. And then for movement, we have Shield Rush, no shield, got it. So this is a crit build. And the very notable thing about a crit Void Knight spellcaster is that you're not using a shield, and you're not using a Titan Heart. So I did an EHP video recently. You can look that up if you need to, but the effective HP for like a Bastion of Honor character is about 22,000. The effective HP for a Titan Heart character, getting the 15% less damage taken, should be about 18,000. And those are already pretty squishy. This character is going to be less than that. This character is going to be like 18,000 minus some life, minus the 15% DR. So it's going to be like, or sorry, 18,000 minus those. So it's going to be like 15,000, right? It's going to be a little bit squishy, but let's keep poking around and see what we can learn here. Looks like some of the gear is not done, but we have Anomaly here. I think Anomaly, plus levels to Anomaly on a helmet, if you're crit, sounds great to me. For me, I would take these nodes here, and instead of getting 1 second uptime from the Mark of Rot, I would instead just flesh out the rest of the nodes on the right side of this, right? So just like a little bit extra crit chance, a little bit extra like cooldown recovery speed, a little bit of extra attack and cast speed to make the build like stutter step not as painful. I think those are the kinds of things I would look for here. I've also said like, man, the more that I play these characters, the more that I just want like as much, what do you call it? Volatile Reversal as possible. So we're playing a vitality stacking build. We definitely want vitality. But like, can we get like one of these things? Let's keep this on our radar. Like maybe ideally someday it'd be nice to have plus levels to Volatile Reversal. I think that'd be quite nice. Let's take a look at this real quick, right? So like we have 23. What if we only had 21 levels? Because like you could have 20 plus 1, like have that sealed, and then you could have 23 levels as your volatile reversal if you wanted to go that route instead. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's keep looking at the rest of the gear before we talk more about volatile reversal. So we are a crit build. Crit, spell damage, crit multi. We're like going out of our way to build these things. Remember, if you're a crit build, you want to have spell critical strike chance instead of crit chance if you can. So what that means is instead of on your relic having crit chance, you'd rather have spell critical strike chance because it's bigger. The crit chance goes from 36 to 50, and spell crit goes from 55 to 75. So let's make that little change. Same thing on this guy, right? Increased crit chance, then goes spell crit, like this. They both apply, crit chance and spell crit both apply, it's just that spell crit's more specific and thusly rolls higher. It's got bigger numbers on it. Let's see. I know that we haven't worried about our resistances yet. I'd be very surprised if we can get away with using a silver amulet. We're probably just going to use a bone amulet. A good implicit gives you 80 resistance on just your bone amulet here. And like you need the fizz, you need the necrotic. So you might as well use something along these lines. Spell damage, multi, armor shred. Excellent. Armor shred is good. Remember, armor shred is good for all hit damage, not only physical hit damage. So that's cool. Let's put that thing there. We have crit chance, void damage over time. Void damage over time is probably not what we're looking for in this version of the build. If you've seen the YouTube post that I put out, I advocate that like the version of Devouring Orb that I would play would be like a non-crit Abyssal Echoes kind of build. And in that build, you would absolutely use void damage over time like this. But if we're going to play a crit build, maybe void dot is not what we're looking for, because we could instead do this thing, right? This the hybrid modifier. So it's got 70 to 90% increased damage and then spell void damage, like that flat. So I think that'd be a pretty good thing for us. Let's keep poking around. Vitality ring, spell, void, awesome. Not much to say about that. Like you can go Doom ring if you want to. Doom itself is not really going to do much for you, but it has like a bunch of leech and movement speed on it. So one of those Siphon of Anguish is a fine thing, but I like vitality, so no complaints. The other option instead of this, like we have 98 vitality. Let's see, no exalted, exalted here, and like double rings for it. And like a bunch of stuff here. What is this? Vitality armor? Vitality armor is fine. I kind of like vitality armor. In fact, you might even like drop some of these, huh? So, honorable mentions to opal rings, right? Opal rings only have 2 attributes instead of like 6 vitality. So you're going to lose 8 vitality overall by doing this. But the cooldown recovery speed is really nice. The cooldown recovery speed, looking at our skills right now, would give us more Abyssal Echoes, would give us more Anomaly, and give us more Devouring Orb. And then, hopefully, because we're going to talk about Volatile Reversal later on, it would also give you more Volatile Reversal. I think, like, double opal rings on every build, I'm pretty close to saying that. But because of the Vitality requirement, I'm fine with these rings as well. We have Crit Chance, Hybrid Health, stuff. We can talk about base types real quick, right? Like I don't know if this gear actually exists, but let's assume that we're using like the correct base types, right? So cooldown recovery speed like this. I think the armor ones are what you're looking for, but cooldown recovery speed is really good, like we were just talking about. I like having as much armor as possible, and I think the Dawn plate for the helmet and the Dawn plate for the body armor, I think they're best in slot just because they have so much armor on them. It's kind of like the armor that got removed off Sigils of Hope got put onto your gear. And like I already mentioned the effective HP for this character, we're going to be very squishy. Having a little bit of extra armor to like make ourselves tankier, but it also goes well with Leech, right? So that's fine. Let's grab some fire resistance boots like this. And then honorable mention. Listen, I was thinking recently, I kind of miss playing Devouring Orb. I was kind of thinking like I have these 3LP Malin's Hubris. And you know, a 3LP Malin's Hubris is pretty good for Devouring Orb. You know? Because it's got vitality on it. Okay, that's beside the point. Let's go back. For this guy, we're using a void damage piece. So the void damage one is kind of bougie. It's like if you can afford this, awesome. But first things first, I would try to use an Argent Crest in order to get the cold and lightning resistance. So it's like 45, 45, 45. Makes it look a little bit easier for killing stuff. Sorry, for capping our resistances. Let's take a look at. There's a one, two, I think two-ish things I want to say before we get to volatile reversal. One's armor, or sorry, Void Shred. Void Shred's good for killing things at range, but oftentimes we're going to be right on top of an enemy because of volatile reversal. So because of that, we already have Void Shred. So remember, one of the changes in 0.9 is that Anomaly got a bug fix. In the past, it said that it shredded void resistance. In reality, it did not. So in 0.9, it does. It applies 2 stacks of Void Shred every second. So after 5 seconds, you're capped Void Shred, assuming that you're standing on top of a boss monster that you want to kill. And to me, that's pretty good. I would be willing to drop the Void Shred from this and get like percent void damage, or even just like crit multi, something along those lines. We probably don't need spell damage leeches health because we already have giga spell damage leeches health. So like either spell leech, percent damage, crit chance if you needed to bridge the gap to get better crits. I think there's a lot of good choices here for us, but I'm going to click on crit multi. If I can find it. There we go. Good. So we have crit multi here. Ending the storm. I mean, you can go lightning res, or you can just go like stun, I guess. Stun chance, baby. We have poison resistance. I don't think poison res is good. I think like 99 times out of 100, your builds are like either all res or crit avoid. Crit avoid is still relevant here because all of the sentinel base types lost their crit avoid, so you could do this, but point for point, having the all res is more valuable. So I'm going to plug that in here, but realistically, either one, like all res or crit avoid, whichever one your gear demands from you. And then, let's see, what's our crit avoid? Crit avoid's at 37. Oh, done. Crit avoid's at 37. Crit avoid blessing. It's perfect. Now let's take a look at the rest of this. Percent armor and flat armor. Yes, love it. So I think the other things we can talk about, we like vitality and necrotic. So we like double necrotic, and our suffixes aren't filled in. I like the idea of having this like extra percent armor scaling. I think that's fine. These might be what I use, but I want to call out some other idols as possibilities. There's some 2x2 idols that have good value on them. Things like void damage for 4 seconds when a skill echoes. And is it health? Block effects? Void damage over time. I guess void damage over time doesn't work for you because you are not void damage over time. Block effect, you're not using that. Like health, maybe? That would be something nice, right? If you can get like a well-rolled, like it rolls between 28 and 76. Like it's a huge difference. But if you get a well-rolled one, it's pretty good. I think the fact that you don't get a good damage suffix makes me less happy about that. Because like, again, we also really want vitality. So let's take out this one and assume that we have like maybe 2 of these ornate, 2 of these 4x1s, right? Something that I really like including in these Devouring Orb builds, like any kind of VK build, is inspiration. So inspiration, I'll just read it out loud. Inspiration is a buff, a 4-second buff. It gives you 20% increased cooldown recovery speed. It is a ton of cooldown recovery speed, and it affects all of your skills that you want to affect. Like it's just very, very high value. For a suffix, health, void damage over time, health. Health's good. Alley res, I'll give you some alley res. Perfect. So something like this, I think you can still get the vitality that you need, right? Because we have 2 exalted vitality modifiers here. Gotcha. All right, so we talked about everything we needed to, except for volatile reversal. So let's talk about volatile reversal, and then I'll talk about like my version of this build after this. So we currently have Devouring Orb, and we have Devouring Orb that's not really dealing damage, right? So it has some void penetration, fine. It's got time rot chance. This time rot chance is relevant because we talked about volatile reversal, and you need this time rot chance to make this food for worms more multiplier work. So like there's some synergy there. Let's go back to Devouring Orb real quick. And then we have a Void Rift hit damage, and these Void Rifts do work for the Chaotic Torrent over here, for the Abyssal Orbs. So at least we're taking the right notes here. all this thing. This is like a lot of utility, right? It's weird. I was told this was a Devouring Orb build. If this is a Devouring Orb, I would have expected to see more points into Extinction, because 40% more damage per point is a huge amount of damage per point. So, the benefit of having the Abyssal Orbs is that they're things that hit, and they're things that proc Abyssal Decay from your Abyssal Echoes. So, I wonder about this. Like, we're kind of spread thin here. If Devouring Orb is supposed to be a source of damage, then I think we need to trim points out of Void Adept and instead put them into more multipliers. Maybe even things like mana efficiency, because these things do have a big mana cost on them. If you're playing like a more melee-centric build, then I would recommend using like the Extinction node, because then like the actual orbit is going to have a ton of damage on it. And that's the kind of thing that I would be looking for as well, if I were doing that. But yeah, I mean, if you want Devouring Orb to deal damage, it's kind of hard to make Devouring Orb deal damage these days, because this is the best node, but it only affects that one orb spinning around you and nothing else. So, we'll talk about Smite as well. So, Smite, we don't have any of the base crit nodes, which I think you probably want. Like, I know it has like minus cast speed, but like 1 or 2 points in here is probably fine, because it gives you a ton of base critical strike chance. The double cast, I like it. The 5 and 5 here, crit multi, sure. So, I don't know, man. I'm like not in love with Smite for a single target. It's a void spell that hits and skills off crit multi. So I understand why it's tempting to use it alongside Devouring Orb. But I think Abyssal Echoes is just like much better. So let's take a look at this thing real quick, because like Abyssal Echoes is almost scaled for damage right now. It's very, very close. Time Rot, it's surprising to me that I see all the Time Rot stuff here, and there's no payoff for Time Rot, because the payoff for Time Rot is Volatile Reversal, but we're not using Volatile Reversal. So let's take a look at everything else that's here. Has a chance to cast Void Rift from the Devouring Orb. It's kind of cute. Armor Shred, Armor Shred. We have some Armor Shred already. Like, we don't need these nodes. We're just using it to get over here. I'd be tempted to just spec into more damage, I think. So Abyssal Decay duration. I saw some questions popping up in the public Discord for last epoch about this. What does Abyssal Decay duration do? So let's talk about this real quick, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Abyssal Echoes applies Abyssal Decay to an enemy. Enemies with Abyssal Decay take void damage over time for 6 seconds. So when you increase the duration of Abyssal Decay, you're causing them to take more damage. You're causing them to take that 6 seconds of damage for a longer period of time. You're not stretching out the damage that's already there. You're adding additional damage. And the reason that's relevant is that when you hit an enemy who's inflicted with Abyssal Decay, it pops and all the damage is immediately dealt to them. So it kind of looks like a crit build because of how bursty your damage is. So I would like to do something like this to get a bunch of duration here. We already have these mandatory, virtually mandatory nodes in the top right. And then like, you don't really need anything else here. This Time Rot stuff, I'd probably just trim the Time Rot stuff unless we're doing Volatile Reversal, and maybe get 1 point over into Blind. So we have 17 points right now. Like, we have the generic more damage multiplier, which again applies to our Devouring Orb. We get the Blind to make sure that this actually works. We have all of our Abyssal Decay duration. The flat damage is good, but like, we have a bunch of vitality, so it kind of gives us our flat damage because it's 2 per vitality. Having a tiny bit of Time Rot stuff here, like, I don't mind it. Maybe like 1 or 2 points there. Maybe another point in our spell void damage here. This kind of looks fine to me. I don't mind this at all. Giving an extra 1 or 2 points down here to really make Volatile Reversal work. So I keep saying Volatile Reversal. Why is it not in this build? Hopefully the answer is I didn't realize it's absurd, instead of I don't like using it, so I didn't put it there. Because it makes me sad every time that people say that they don't like Volatile Reversal. Because first of all, it's absolutely insane, and it just got buffed twice-ish. I think even more than that. And to me, it's also very fun to use. It's like, it's skill intensive, sure, but even if you do like the only like very, very base of what Volatile Reversal does for you, it's still pretty insane. So the question is like, what do we trim? So we currently have volatile, so we have Abyssal Echoes and Smite. And in my mind, these are both our single target skills. We could use both of them, sure, but like you could just use one of them and your build's going to be excellent anyways. So we have our movement skill, and like I like movement skills. Movement skills are good. I would like to drop one of these two things. I greatly prefer the Abyssal Echoes version over the Smite version. So this is going to be the direction that I recommend going. Let's take Smite. Let's, is that the right button? Nope. Let's go like this. Let's click on Volatile Reversal, and we are a hit-based build, but now we're also kind of a damage over time. Okay, so we're going to assume that we're crit. We're scaling crit. This person wants to play crit. If you're not playing crit, just use a Bastion of Honor. That's what I would do. But let's pretend like this is a crit build, okay? So we're not using sigils, which means we don't care as much about our mana. Realistically, our mana is going to be tight here, so I don't think I want to use this thing, but we'll see. And then we have our 30, which is doubled because it hits twice, so 60% increased damage taken. And then we also have like a little bit of attack and cast speed. We have some movement speed because movement speed is really fun. And then let's put 4 points into this because I think this is one of the big buffs that Volatile Reversal got for hit-based builds that don't want this time rift node over here. We can just have another 48% more damage. So remember, time rot stacks at 12 times. God, I'm pretty sure it's 12 times. 12 times 4, 48. Feels good. 12 times 4. Oh my God, 12 times 4. 12 times 4 is 48, right? Man, if it's not, don't even tell me, okay? So we have 2 more points we could spec. Just getting like another extra cooldown recovery speed like this would be fine. If you really want to be a tryhard, then you go extra points into Ancient Reversal. I don't like this because I'm not comfortable playing it, but technically this is a very good way of getting more juice out of your Volatile Reversal if you're comfortable with that playstyle. So I'm going to click on these nodes instead. For Shield Rush, it's either Shield Rush or Lunge. I like Lunge. Some people love Shield Rush, so that's fine there. Cool. I think cooldown recovery speed. Get that belt out of there. Having suffixes other than health. You stop that right now. You stop that right now. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning, now that I look at the Devouring Orb skill tree and remember the, what's this node called down here? The Sightless Star node. Looking at that node reminds me, you have mana problems on this build. So getting one of these, where is this thing? Mana efficiency with void spells. Yeah, and then like you can't get vitality, right? So there's definitely an opportunity cost with this. Shared void damage, void resistance, time rot. Ooh, time rot chance. Look at that. Percent armor, maybe. Time rot chance, percent armor. Slow with void skills. It's not even that bad. Shred armor on hit, also not bad. One of those suffixes for it. But getting a good 25% mana efficiency does feel quite nice. I have enjoyed that in the past. So we're currently at 87, which means we might need like Exalted Vitality somewhere else, or tier 6 or tier 7 Vitality. But I think this is the kind of thing that I'd be looking at. I haven't looked at the passives yet. So let's do this for just a moment. Mana gain when you use smites. Got it. If you're doing the smite thing, sure enough. Points in the block chance nodes when you're not using a shield. I can appreciate it. Okay. Wow, we got so many points in here. Holy crap. 91 points for the crit multi node. Sure. I'm going to trim these nodes because I'm not in love with them. You're not taking the flat damage. I'm curious about not taking the flat damage. I, on the other hand, if I were going to put 96 points, I would take the flat damage. Or 91 points. Sorry, it's only 91 points. Time rot duration? Time rot spread on kill? I'm skeptical of that. I'm going to trim that for the time being. I don't think that's very high priority. The strength stuff, sure. Not taking sigils is kind of cute. It gives us a ton of points to put in the skill tree. You know, the mana regeneration might end up being valuable to you. It's only 10%. Just kidding, it is not. Just kidding, it is not. We have 5 points remaining, huh? Melee kill threshold. Damage on recent kill, sure. I might just spec them into this for like the extra resistance down here, right? Just like trim the block nodes. Get like easier gearing maybe. Like in my mind, we're not playing a smite build, so maybe we like trim those. Maybe we have 7 more points to play with. Yeah. 7 points, dealer's choice. How's that look? Dealer's choice, put them wherever you want. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. So that's what this build would look like after I got to it. I don't think we're really doing anything with mana. We could swap this over to be a Dragonhorn, right? Get some extra cast speed going on too. So that's about that. Again, I really like the Abyssal Echoes version of this. And to me, playing this as a non-crit build makes a lot of sense, because then you're just scaling void damage over time. You're scaling Abyssal Echoes. Devouring Orb is just there to kill some stuff along the way and to proc your Abyssal Echoes. It's very much so not an auto bomber if you're playing the Abyssal Echoes version, because like you're not going to have as much hit damage as the crit version. But like, man, it's really good. You gain 3 new more multipliers, right? Because you gain the more multiplier from this. Because remember, if you're playing an Abyssal Echoes build, then your Devouring Orb is like a support skill, and you get to spec into this. If you're playing a crit Devouring Orb build, I don't think you can spec into Void Adept, because I think you just don't have enough points for it. So what did we say? We said the new more multiplier here, the blind thing with Embrace the Darkness, and then hopefully going volatile reversal, we also have access to this new more multiplier here, which gives us like a payoff for all the incidental time route stuff that we have in the rest of the build. So those are my thoughts on it. I think cool. I didn't see too much other stuff that popped up in chat while we were talking though. Are we good? Crit multi, spell crit, endurance, crit avoid, stuff. Health, armor. Yeah. We're missing suffixes in our gear, so we probably have like a little bit more life, a little bit better resistances. I'm not too worried about that. But I think that's about it. So if you like this kind of stuff, I grab these from Discord every once in a while in case someone has a question about their build, and it's fun talking about them. So hopefully you like this kind of content. We'll see you next time.